Hey y'all, I'm Jessi Harry and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. I do lots of food related content over here like grocery hauls, what's for dinner, easy recipes, so you don't want to miss any of that. This week's what's for dinner video has 4 easy weeknight recipes, budget friendly, family friendly, all that stuff, so you'll definitely want to keep on watching to see that. As always, the links to the recipes or typed out recipes will be in my description box below, along with if I did anything crazily different than what the recipe link says, I'll also have those notes. So let's get into it. So first things first, I did a super easy shake and bake pork chop with my own spin on it. So we have some pork chops here. They were on sale this week at Aldi, which is why I got them. Some egg that we're going to dip the pork chop in so this shake and bake sticks to it instead of water. Some parsley, oregano, garlic powder, black pepper, and then the extra crispy shake and bake. I like my pork chops to be really crunchy as if I actually fried them, but didn't want to take the time to fry them or splatter grease all over myself. So first we're going to get the shake and bake mixture ready. So I'm just taking both of the packets in that box and putting them in a bowl. I think for like 4 pork chops it says to use 1, you use both. I almost run out. And then I'm adding all of my seasonings, and it was about a teaspoon of each of them. The garlic powder, the pepper, the oregano, the parsley, and I'm just adding all that to the shake and bake, and then I'm gonna give it I almost said a big stir, a good stirring until it's completely mixed up. And then I'm going to crack both of the eggs into the bowl. You can of course use egg whites if you'd rather, or water like the recipe calls for, not the recipe, but like the shake and bake box says. I prefer egg, but you know, if you're watching those calories, probably shouldn't be watching my channel. Anyway, so now we're gonna get those pork chops breaded. So we're just dipping them in the egg mixture, and then I'm putting them into the shake and bake mixture. And I'm making sure they are very coated, as you can see. I don't like lightly coated, I want it to be crunchy. So very, very coated. As you can see, as we're getting to the end, I'm running out of seasoning, but I did have plenty. As you see here where I put the pork chops on the pan, they are nice and coated. So we're just putting them on a baking sheet, covered in tinfoil with some cooking spray on it so the pork chops don't stick. And of course, if you do less pork chops or maybe even thinner, these were pretty thin, you may need less seasoning, but you know. So now I'm just gonna slide them on into the oven. It's at 400 and I'm gonna cook them for about 20 minutes. You cook yours depending on the thickness of your pork chops. And here they are out of the oven, delicious and golden brown. And lastly, we're plating up the meal. So I've got my pork chops, some green beans that I just cooked on the stove with the chicken broth and seasonings like I always cook my pork chops. And then we have some scalloped potatoes. There will be a video later on this week featuring crock-pot side dishes, and that will be one of them. So again, make sure you're subscribed because you don't want to miss crock-pot side dishes. And here we go. This was really yummy, and as you can see, when I did the recipe, very, very easy. If you don't like shake and bake, you can always look up your own or just add breadcrumbs. I really like shake and bake. I just wanted to give it a little bit more zing, and this was delicious. My whole family loved it. It was really easy, really quick. You gotta try it. All right, so next up, we're just doing a really easy cast iron salmon. You can, of course, do this in a regular pan if you don't have a cast iron, or if you're kind of wary about cooking with a cast iron like I used to be. So we have some salmon right here, which was also on sale this week, which is why I got it. Some avocado oil. You can use regular olive oil. I have avocado oil. It has a higher smoke point, so I'm using it. Salt and pepper. Yes, these are the only seasonings I'm going to use. You can use more if you want to. I think salmon's like steak. Sometimes you just need salt and pepper and it's good. Most of the time. So first of all, I'm gonna heat up my cast iron in the oven. So I'm just gonna slide it in there while I'm heating my oven up to 400. And I'm gonna set the timer for 10 minutes, but really I just leave it in there until I get all my stuff ready. So if it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it's fine. You want it good and hot. So while that cast iron is getting good and hot, which is very important, you also want to dry your salmon. Another important thing if you are searing meat, especially in the cast iron, but I feel like it's important when you're searing any kind of meat, you want to make sure there is no moisture if you're doing a sear, not if you're marinating it and just cooking it real quick. I want a good crusty sear on the outside of my salmon, so I want to make sure it is good and dry. So that is what I'm doing right now. All right, now that it's good and dry and I have it on a plate, I'm just going to salt and pepper it. Plenty of salt, especially if you're using just this. Make sure it's salted well. Really brings out the flavor and draws out that moisture, so you still get that really crisp sear like I was talking about. Sometimes I do use a smoked salmon seasoning that I had. I decided not to do that because not everybody can find that. I wanted to make this really easy for the video. So also, while your pan's getting hot, you want your eye that you're going to put your pan on to be hot too. So I set that to medium and let it get warm. So I've taken the skillet out of the oven. I put it on my eye. I have put the oil in there and let that kind of get hot, which only takes about 2 minutes because everything's already hot from the oven. The eye is already hot, and I'm popping in that salmon. Not skin down, you want it to be, this is going to sound gross, but the flesh side down, and then don't touch it. You want to let it cook for about 3 minutes, 3 to 5, depends on how hot your skillet is, and let it get a good sear. So I flipped it all over. I did not show you that because I'm a hot mess when I flip things. Nobody wants to see that. Put it skin side down, and now that oven is preheated to 400 degrees, and I'm going to slide the entire cast iron in there, close it up, and I'm going to put it for 7 minutes, but I think I cooked it more like 10 to 15. I use a meat thermometer to make sure my salmon is cooked all the way through. And here you go. Look how beautiful that sear is on the salmon. It's so nice and crunchy on the outside and soft and flaky on the inside, which is what I love. That's how I love my salmon to be. So now we're gonna plate up our meal. I did a side salad, just some greens, and then some tomatoes from our garden that we wanted to go ahead and use up. A delicious piece of salmon. Look at how beautiful that is. It's so golden on the outside. I love salmon, obviously. And then a salmon rice mixture that is also going to be featured in my crockpot side video later this week. Don't miss it. And here you go. I drizzled some dressing on the salad, and I do squeeze some lemon on my salmon because we always squeeze lemon on stuff like that. But here it is. Very easy, very delicious, very quick. I don't recommend using this type of thing if you're using the frozen salmon, but if you're using fresh, cook it like this. It will be amazing. You can add any other seasonings that you want to, but honestly, salt and pepper, easiest and really yummy way to go. Squeeze a little lemon, great. All right, our next dinner is going to be bone-in baked chicken. The recipe is for thighs, but I had 2 drumsticks in my freezer, lone drumsticks, so I'm going to go ahead and use them up. You can do that too if you want to. You can do all drumsticks if you wanted to. Some brown sugar, some olive oil, onion powder, cayenne pepper, smoked paprika, black pepper, and garlic. So we're going to get this chicken all coated in the seasoning after we make it. So now I'm just putting all the seasonings in here. I can't remember the exact measurements. It will be in that in the recipe link in the description box below. So follow that. But basically, we're just throwing it all in. The smoked paprika, the garlic powder, the onion powder, a little bit of cayenne, a little bit of brown sugar. I actually think I might have missed a couple steps, so I think there was supposed to be black pepper in there. Like I said, follow the directions in the recipe. I stirred all that up, and now we've got our chicken. We put it in a bowl. I've drizzled it with some of the olive oil, and I'm just going to mix it around to make sure the chicken is nice and coated in the olive oil. Add more if it's not coated enough. You want the seasoning to stick. So I'm putting half the seasoning on now, and then I'm going to stir it because I don't want, all the seasoning just to be on one side of the chicken. So we're going to give it a good stir. And after I feel like that's coated enough, we are going to add in the rest. And give that a good stirring until everything is nicely coated. And there you go. All right, so I've got my baking pan. I did a casserole dish, and of course with tin foil with cooking spray. I'm just popping all that chicken in there. And that's how it looks. As you can see, it's nice and coated. Also, side note, I should have added salt to this. It is in the recipe. I will talk about that in just a minute. So we've got the oven on 450. We're gonna slide that chicken in and set a timer. But as always, you know, it may need shorter, it may need longer. I use a meat thermometer. I suggest investing in one always. Always, to make sure your stuff's cooked. And here's what it looks like when it came out of the oven. Nice and golden brown. Really delicious with that skin on. So now we're plating it up. I just did a drumstick. I didn't really want a whole thigh. Some mashed potatoes. And some peas. None of those sides are going to be in the video. I had planned for something that night, but time got away from me and I did not get the crock pot started. So these sides were perfectly fine. So here it is. This was very yummy. The recipe calls for salt. Add the salt. You definitely need it. I was just like, oh, we don't eat that much salt, so it's not a big deal. You need it. You need it for the chicken. The salt really helps bring out the flavor of the entire rub, so make sure not to miss that. But this was yet another really quick, budget-friendly meal. Very easy, and everyone in the family enjoyed it. The rub had a really good kick to it because of the cayenne pepper. So if you like a little bit of spicy, try it. All right, and last up this week is going to be beef tips. And I'm using some stew meat, which yet again was on sale, which is why I bought it. I only buy beef when it's on, I basically only buy everything when it's on sale unless I just have to have it. An onion that I've diced up, a packet of brown gravy, some olive oil, salt, black pepper, garlic, soy sauce, and Worcestershire sauce. If I pronounce that wrong, please don't come for me. It's not that big of a deal. All right, so we've got our pan. We're just drizzling some olive oil in there. We're gonna let it get hot, of course. And now that it's hot, we are adding in our onion. And we're gonna stir all that together. Get the onion coated in the olive oil. And we're just gonna let that cook for about 5 to 6 minutes until the onion is softened. And so now that it's softened, we're gonna add in our package of stew meat. You could, of course, just use steak that you cut up, but it's just easier to use the stew meat, and it was on sale. And now I'm breaking it up, getting it coated in the olive oil. And you're gonna wanna brown this meat on both sides. You don't have to cook it all the way through, you're just browning it. And as you can see, that's pretty brown. We still have some red and pink. And now I'm adding in the water and the Worcestershire. I really just want to say Worcester. I don't know why. I know that's not how you pronounce it, but I just feel like it. And the soy sauce. Then we're adding in all of our seasonings except for that gravy packet that you saw. We're not going to add that until the end. All right, so now that all the seasonings are added, I'm just giving it a good stirring. And we want to set this on a medium-high so it comes to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, you're gonna put the lid on, set it to simmer, and you wanna simmer it for 1.5 hours to 2 hours. After that's done, you're putting in the gravy packet that I mixed with water. Sorry, I did not realize that this was unfocused, but this is what we have. You're gonna stir it and then let that thicken for however long it takes. And here is the end result. I'm so sorry, I do not have a video of me plating it up. I was really busy. We have the noodles and beef, which you can top with sour cream. I did this after I showed it, so good that way. Some broccoli and some mushrooms, which are part of my crockpot side video that will be later this week. But here it is. I love beef tips and rice. I really love it with garlic bread. We had somewhere we had to be that night, so I just plated it up and ate it really, really quick. But if you like beef tips, try this recipe. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you like it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And as always, like I've said a million times in this video, don't forget to subscribe. It helps me out so much, and I would love for you to be a part of my YouTube family. Also, you don't want to miss that crockpot side video coming up. Have a great day. Bye.